أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. I seek refuge in Allah Azza wa Jal from Satan, the accursed one. And I begin this khutbah by saying, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, with the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. We're recommended to start everything we do in the name of God, the one who is the entirely merciful and the especially merciful, so that our hearts can be reminded of what is permanent. Because the more I consume of this world, the more I am wanting of something that cannot satisfy me. The Prophet has told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that nothing can fill the mouth of the child of Adam except for the soil of their own grave. And so I start not with something that is rooted in this world, but what is rooted in the life to come and what has been permanent before I was even brought forth into this universe, in the name of our Creator, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه. Indeed, all praises and all thanks, whether we choose to or not, they are due to God. We praise Him, we seek His help, we seek the forgiveness of our Creator, we believe in Him, and we place our trust in Him. وَنَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنْ شُرُورِ أَنفُسِنَا وَمِنْ سَيِّئَاتِ أَعْمَالِنَا مَنْ يَهْدِهِ اللَّهُ فَلَا مُضِلَّ لَهُ وَمَنْ يُضْلِلْ فَلَا هَادِيَ لَهُ. We seek refuge in Allah Azza wa Jal from the difficulties, the struggles, the ego, the self-deprecating attitude that exists within ourselves. And we seek refuge and protection in Allah from the consequences of our mistakes. Whomsoever Allah chooses to guide, no one in humanity and in creation can misguide that person. And whomsoever is left wandering, only God can grant them guidance. We bring us all back to the testimony of faith by which we live and die. The Prophet ﷺ used to tell his companions to renew your faith. And they would say, Ya Rasulullah, how do we renew our faith? And he would say to them, say consistently and continuously, let it be moist on your tongue, the recitation of the phrase, La ilaha illallah. We say proudly and humbly, وَنَشْهَدُ أَن لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَحْدَهُ لَا شَرِيكَ لَهُ وَنَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. We testify that there is no one worthy of worship except Allah, the one without any partner. And we testify that Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is his servant and his final messenger. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Allah says in the Quran, O you who believe, be mindful of God as is His due, and make sure you devote yourselves to Him to your dying moment. Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا يُصْلِحْ لَكُمْ أَعْمَالَكُمْ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ وَمَنْ يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَقَدْ فَازَ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا. Allah says in the Quran, believers, be mindful of God, speak in a direct fashion and to good purpose, and He will put your deeds right for you and forgive you your sins. Whoever obeys God and His Messenger will truly achieve a great triumph. As with any sermon or lecture, with any beginning, we start by sending peace and blessings upon Muhammad. And we say, Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina wa Habibina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So alhamdulillah, today is Yawm al-Jum'ah, the blessed day of Friday, and as always we strive to thank God for the big and the small things in our lives. We strive to find ways to be grateful for Him in ways we haven't been before. And on this Friday, I thank God for granting me a physical heart, a heart that each one of us possesses. It is a heart that beats over 100,000 times a day. It is a heart that pumps 2 gallons of blood every minute and over 100 gallons of blood every hour. It is a heart that pumps through our entire system, through our vascular system that exceeds over 60,000 miles in length, more than 2 times the circumference of the earth. It pumps through that much of a distance blood to keep our body alive. I thank Allah Azza wa Jal for creating inside me an entire universe that seeks to sustain me. One that I may choose to not be mindful of, but it does not disobey the purpose with which it was created to keep this body and soul alive. I share this because today I want to talk about one of the spiritual diseases of the heart. Something that we oftentimes don't put much emphasis on because it's not something tangible. One of the things that people struggle with when you think about faith and any faith that has a higher power or a creator is the concept of believing in the unseen. How do you believe in a God that is unseen? Allah says in the first verse of Surah Al-Baqarah that in describing the muttaqeen, those who are God conscious, the first attribute is that there are those who yu'minuna bil ghayb. They believe in the unseen. People struggle, Muslims we struggle to believe in a God and Allah Azza wa Jal because He's unseen. But in the same way, the aspects that tackle our heart, when we feel inclinations of bitterness or resentment, or we've experienced trauma in our lives, or we feel anger or hold a grudge, those are parts of our heart that are unseen, that I can't prove to someone that these are the cells that represent the anger or the sadness within me, but I'm convinced of its reality. In the same way we believe in the unseen within our own hearts, we are pushed to believe in the unseen, that is Allah Azza wa Jalla. One aspect of the heart that I want to talk about is the spiritual disease known as riya, ostentation. We know that Allah tells us in the Holy Quran that on the day of judgment, the only people that will be secure, that will be safe on that day, are those who come to God, that come to Allah with a sound heart. And one of the spiritual diseases of the heart that prevent it from being sound is this disease of riya, ostentation. This disease of someone doing something good, an act of piety or righteousness, solely for the sake of receiving the approval, the affirmation, the validation of others. Now, why talk about this spiritual disease in specific? The Prophet once, he said to his companions, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said to them that I fear for my ummah and I fear for you all the minor shirk. Shirk, we know, being the deed of one ascribing partners to God. And it is the only deed that Allah has promised that He cannot forgive a servant for. And the Prophet says, I fear for you the minor shirk. The companions, they asked him, Ya Rasulullah, what is this minor shirk? And he says, it is this deed of riya, of doing things that are righteous, things that are good, solely for the sake of finding approval and seeking approval in others. And the Prophet, he tells us that the people of riya, of ostentation on the day of judgment, when people are being repaid for their deeds, Allah will say to them, go to those people to whom you perform these deeds so that you could seek their praise and approval, and go find your reward with them. And of course, we know that on the day of judgment, no one will have any reward or mercy to give except Allah. So we think about this tendency, this kind of human aspect within us of seeking to do things and do things for the sake of others, for the sake of receiving the approval of others. And this starts at a young age. For many of us who may have kids or have nieces and nephews, we know that when we see a child, someone who wants to seek the approval of their parents, my nephews specifically, they will build a tower, say 4 or 5 blocks tall. And their mother, their father will say to them that, wow, mashallah, like, look how much you built on your own. And so the kid will then actively seek to build a higher tower, something that is even greater in height, to further impress and further gain approval from their parents. And studies have shown that as we grow up, there's this further emphasis on ourselves, further emphasis on sharing the things that we do about ourselves. That 40% of the things that we talk about and that we share on a daily basis are specifically rooted in things about the things we've done, the things we think, the things we've eaten, the things we seek to do. 40% of our speech is centered on ourselves. With the advent of social media, we know that there's now been a hyper-focus on elevating the things that we do in the public eye. So much so that our existence and our being is reinforced, not by us being motivated to do the things for ourselves and for God, but to exist and to be for the sake of others. And studies have shown that 80% of the things we put out on social media, from tweets to photos to posts, whatever it is, 80% are rooted in observed observations about ourselves. Rooted in the things that we've done, that we've accomplished, the things we're thinking about today, the things that we seek to do. And we think about all this because it's cultivating a mindset that us existing and being is for the people around us. There was a team at Harvard University that did a study trying to understand, why do people like to talk about themselves? Why do people like to show off? And so they did several experiments, basically measuring the brain activity of people as they began to speak about themselves and things that they've done. And what they've essentially found, and of course I'm kind of dumbing it down for myself because I'm not an expert in all this, but what they basically found was that the reward center in our brains, that part of the brain would light up when people began to speak about themselves. And it's the same part of the brain that would light up if someone experienced pleasure by eating something delicious, if someone experienced pleasure by engaging in acts of intimacy. It's the same part of the brain that feels a sense of reward. And what they also found out was that the people in this experiment, on average, were willing to sacrifice 17% of the money promised to them if it meant they could speak a bit more about themselves. We are so consumed with who we are, and not just who we are, but sharing with other people who we are, that we love ourselves more than we love the prospect of receiving more money. And so I share all this to provide a grounding, that we're thinking about the ways in which this world pushes us to spread things about ourselves and do things for the sake of others. On the metaphysical level, we have to ask ourselves, how often are we motivated to do things not just for the people's sake, but just for the sake of God? Imam Al-Lut, rahimahullah, in his poem where he writes about the diseases of the heart, he says that the root source of ostentation is desire. It's seeking and wanting something from a source other than God. And this is something we have to really interrogate within our minds. Who is the sole possessor of the things that could benefit us in this life and in the life to come? There's a profound statement by the Prophet ﷺ where he says to his companions that if you seek the help of God, you will find him in front of you. If you seek the help of God, he will protect you. If you ask, you should ask of God. And if you seek protection, you should seek the protection of God. And then he says to his companions, know that if the entire world were to gather to benefit you with something, they could only benefit you with that which Allah has already decreed for you. If the entire world were to gather to harm you with something, afflict you with some pain or some source of affliction, know that they can only harm you with that which Allah has decreed for you. And then the Prophet ends the statement, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying that the ink is dried and the pens have been lifted. Our rizq has been decreed for us. But the more we keep chasing the people around us, the more we lose path in the sight of God. And the more we convince ourselves that by showcasing our goodwill, whether it is through our social media channels, whether it is by demonstrating to people the good that we've done, the more we convince ourselves that we can gain something from the people around us by sharing with them the good that we've done, the more we detract ourselves away from God. Now, something that I've struggled with, and I know a lot of people struggle with, is how do you balance sharing what you do that is good while not coming off as arrogant, as boastful, as someone who is simply seeking to do to be recognized by others. And this is something that one of my mentors, he talked to me about. He said that if Allah Azza wa Jal, He blessed you with a gift, and He gave you something that you know other people can benefit from, then who are you to withhold that gift from other people? You should be confident in sharing the things that Allah has blessed you with if it means His creation benefiting and you being utilized as a vessel to which your Lord's mercy and peace and love are disseminated unto this world. But what my mentor also told me, he said that each time you do something good, and each time you do something that isn't the public eye, you have to interrogate your heart. You have to really ask yourself how much of it is being done for others and how much of it is being done for God. Because the moment we stop interrogating our hearts and we find this contentment that we are doing good and we should be adequately and appropriately praised for it, we've lost sight of the one for whom this good and this righteousness is actually being done for. The Prophet, he tells us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Allah loves to see the traces of His blessings upon His servants. The good that we do should be shared with others to encourage others to do good. But there's that balance. That the struggles of the heart and that interrogation, something that no one else can see but you and God knows, that has to continue to happen. Imam Al-Lut, rahimahullah, he then describes the signs of ostentation. If someone actually has riyah within their hearts, He says the first two signs are, one, that that person is lazy, there's a laziness, and then two, that that person has a lack of willpower. There's a lack of action for God's sake when that person is alone and out of the view of others. If there is a discrepancy in the way in which you carry yourself in front of the people around you, then, and the person that you are on your own, there has to be some sort of interrogation. And I would think that also boils down to the kind of ways in which you carry yourself in front of your community and in the workplace, and how that differs from the way in which you carry yourself around your family and the people in your home. There can't be a disparity in the way in which you are. Because if that exists, then it clearly demonstrates a sign that you are doing things only when people are around, and choosing not to do those same things when those same people aren't around. People sometimes feel motivated when they come to a masjid and they see people gathered praying, and their hearts feel more inclined to be good and do good because we're around people that are submitting to God, and that's perfectly fine. But if we, in all other aspects of our lives, are not seeking to think of how we are doing things and whether we're doing them for the right purpose, then we could continue to be motivated by the people around us, but if our hearts are not rooted in the right place, that good will not amount to anything in the eyes of our Creator if it's done for those around us. The third sign that Imam Maulud rahimahullah shares with us is that a person will increase their actions when they praise and decrease them in the absence of such praise. And I think about this a lot in terms of our political context. I currently work at the American Civil Liberties Union. It's a civil rights organization. And oftentimes the issues that we focus on will differ depending on where the funding lies. A few years ago, we were focusing more on the school-to-prison pipeline. And now the funding has shifted. More grants are being given to debtors' prisons, being able to fight against excessive fines and fees and people who are getting jailed for not being able to afford bail. And that's on an institutional level. But I think on a personal level, what are we motivated to do and fight for? And is it for the sake of what people are willing to affirm and praise us for? This whole discussion around immigration, around what this presidential administration talks about as an invasion on the southern border, there's plenty of efforts to combat the kind of bigotry and xenophobia that exists. But a few years ago, the previous administration had deported thousands of people. Some activists had called the previous president the deporter-in-chief. But immigration wasn't a hot topic at that point. It wasn't a thing that most people were fighting for, and I think to myself, do we get attracted to these specific issues because the media and the spotlight puts more praise and affirmation and validation on these topics, and that's what motivates us. Right? This bleeds into every aspect of our lives. This idea of ostentation, this idea of just doing things because people will affirm us, but we're not thinking about the truth and the faith-based principles by which God has decreed that we should live by. There are two things, and this is something I think about a lot, two things that happen when we do things for the sake of others and we're not interrogating our hearts. The first thing is that we have our priorities constantly changing. We know that the human heart is constantly shifting from one desire to the next. The more you try to impress the people around you, the more you'll be lost in trying to understand what is it that the people want. One day they want something, and the next they want something else. And this is what Allah Azza wa Jalla talks about in the Quran, where He says in Surah Al-Furqan to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, He says to the Prophet, do you not see the person who takes as their ilah, as their God, as the one worthy of praise, their desires? Then He says, do you expect or do you see yourself to be their guardian if they're taking as their God their desires and their whims? And then Allah provides a powerful parable. He says that these people, they are those who, He says, do you think that most of them hear or understand? They are just like cattle. No, they are further from the path. Allah is describing the people who are simply relying upon their desires, the desires and the whims of others to guide their lifestyles. And He says that, do you think these people actually think and understand for themselves? And then He says that they are like cattle. No, they're actually further astray. And the scholars talk about how when you think about any animal, animals know instinctually that if there's some danger, be it a fire or some threat, they will run away from that danger. But as humans, when we get engrossed in the whims and the ephemeral desires and interests of others and ourselves, then we won't be able to distinguish what is harmful and what is good. We become worse than cattle in that we will run to the things that will actually kill us and destroy us. This is the example that God is presenting to us when we think about who we're taking as our ilah. The second thing, an effect of what we think about as ostentation, is that you'll continuously want more of something that will never satisfy you. You'll want more of people's approval and praise, and that will simply drive you to seek out more of it, but it won't satisfy your heart the way the truth and the permanence of God will. And I say this because this really hit me a couple weeks ago. I was talking to a friend of mine from high school, graduated 7-8 years ago. And this high school friend of mine said that he had caught up with another one of our classmates, someone who I hadn't seen since graduation. And this classmate and my friend are talking about other people who had graduated from high school, what they've been doing post-college, what their lives are like now. And that classmate told my friend that there was one person in our class in our year who graduated with us, someone extremely talented, a person who had so much going for them. And unfortunately, they now fell and are now in drugs. And they're addicted to cocaine. And I asked that Allah make things easy for that person. And this person, who I knew was at the top of our class, was well known and well respected. They now find themselves in this difficult point in their lives. And my friend, he told me this, and we're just saying that that's terrible. You know, it sucks. A few days later, I'm at this event. And it's an event where there's a bunch of community organizers, activists talking about the work they're doing in the city. MashaAllah, people from all backgrounds doing work on immigration, police reform, criminal justice reform, talking about the ways in which they're seeking to uplift their communities here in New York City. And presentation after presentation, people my age, people younger than me, are talking about all this great work that they're doing. And subhanAllah, at one point in my mind, I was thinking, these people are so accomplished, like, what do I have to prove for myself? What worth do I have in the eyes of these people? What have I done with my life? And I kid you not, my mind, it went back to the conversation with my friends a few days ago. And in this desire to try to find some way to justify my self-worth, I thought back to that person in our class who was addicted to cocaine, and my mind was trying to convince itself, well, at least you're better than that person. I share this because when our hearts get so rooted in trying to understand what our value is in the eyes of others, we don't look to God. We don't look to the Creator who bestowed you with gifts even before you were born. We look to other creation and try to compare ourselves and try to find worth by comparing our worth to the worth of others. And this is a dangerous downward spiral. Because the more you do that, the more you will find reasons to look down upon others. I sense my heart was trying to find a reason to look down upon that person when it shouldn't, but my heart is so oriented to find value in the eyes of others that it forgets the Creator. The Creator who sustained you, allowed you to spend 9 months in the womb of your mother, fashioned you, and then gave you a life and sustenance, and reminds you, because each and every day when you go to sleep, the souls return back to God, and God sees something within you. He sees something within you that compels him. He chooses then to have your soul return back to your body so you can live another day in this world. There is so much that our Creator sees within us. But when we're stuck doing things for the sake of other people, we cut out that connection and we're just left comparing ourselves to other people, trying to find value by putting other people down, and then forgetting what our inherent God-given abilities are. This all culminates on the day of resurrection, on the day of judgment. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he shares with us what happens to the people of Riyadh. There's a profound narration. He says that the first people to be judged on that day, they aren't the people who committed shirk, the people who ascribe partners to God, no. They are the people like the alim, the person who taught people this deen, the people like the hafiz, the person who memorized the Quran, the people like the person who was blessed with wealth, the people like the mujahid, the one who sacrificed their life in the way of God. So God will question these people and say to them, what did you do for me? The alim will say, Ya Allah, I taught this deen to you, I educated to people that is done. The hafiz will say, I taught people your Quran, the ways in which we can recite and the tajweed and pronunciation of your holy Quran. The wealthy person will say, you gave me charity and you gave me wealth and I gave it away in charity. I gave it to help other people. The person who sacrificed their life, the one who is a martyr will say, Ya Allah, I gave up my life for your cause. And to each of these people, Allah Azza wa Jalla will say that you're lying. You didn't do this for the sake of me. You did this for the sake of gaining approval, so that the people around you can call you a hafiz than someone who is knowledgeable. So the people in your community can call you generous because you gave for the sake of receiving approval of others. So that you would die and give up your life as a martyr so that people could remember you as someone who is righteous. And then Allah will say to those people that the reward you sought, the approval of others, you earned that in the previous life. And that is all the reward you will receive. They will gain nothing in the life to come. And what's powerful about this, subhanAllah, is that when we think about people who do good in this life, like the alam on the day of resurrection, the reality is that objectively there may have been hundreds or thousands of people who benefited from his teachings, who gained the closeness to their Creator. There may have been thousands of people who gained from the charity that was given to them by that wealthy person. Allah is not measuring our deeds strictly based on the quantity and how they're measured in this life. He's measuring them based on the quality. I could objectively be benefiting you all with this khutbah. But if I'm not interrogating my heart as to why I'm doing this, this amounts to nothing in the eyes of my Creator. The more this world pushes you to think about what is tangible, what is numerical, what you can prove in terms of worth to others, and the more we engage in that, the more we forget that this heart and the soundness of this heart and the quality of this heart is all that Allah is looking for in the life to come. بارك الله لنا ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعنا وإياكم بما فيه من الآيات والذكر الحكيم. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. So I shared some examples, some stories about what it means to have a heart that is consumed with this desire to do things to gain the approval of others. The opposite of riyā is Afraz, is sincerity. And I want to now highlight the power of what it means to be sincere, solely acting for God and no one else. There's a powerful narration my teacher taught me. And it was in the writings, one of the writings of Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah. He shares the story about a man, and it's narrated that this man, his religious practice was deficient. He wasn't someone who necessarily observed all the aspects of his faith. But he was someone who used to give out a lot of loans, interest-free loans to dozens of people. And one day he thought to himself and he told his debt collector, he said, go to all those people to whom I've given these loans and just tell them that their loans have been forgiven. There was something in his heart that compelled him to do so. And so he told his debt collector and all the loans of the dozens of people that he gave money out to, it was forgiven. And we know that the Prophet has told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that to forgive someone's debt is one of the most noble and righteous deeds that one can do. This man spends the rest of his life in this world. He passes away and he's raised on the day of resurrection. And Allah will say to this man, what have you done for me? And this man, he's fully aware that he lived a life that didn't necessarily mean that he was amongst the most righteous or pious, that he wasn't someone who committed all the acts of faith. And he says all this, but he says, Ya Allah, one thing I did do was I used to give out loans. I used to give out interest-free loans to all these people, and one day in the morning I woke up and there was some sincerity, some sense of pure genuineness within my heart that compelled me to just forgive these loans. And so far I forgave all of these people. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla will say to this person that this man forgave those people who owed him, who were in debt to him, who transgressed him. And I'm the one who can forgive the most of those who transgressed him. And then he turns to the angels, Azza wa Jalla, and he says to the angels that know that this man who forgave the debts of other people without having done much anything else, know that this man has been forgiven, that he's been granted Jannah. This story signals for us that the weight of our actions is not rooted in quantity. It's not rooted in how much we can do. It is rooted in the quality, and it is rooted in the intention with which we're doing these things. Allah says that people that are safe on the day of judgment are those who come to Him with a sound heart. And I come back to an ayah of the Quran where Allah says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَظْلِمُ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ وَإِن تَكُ حَسَنَةً يُضَاعِفْهَا وَيُؤْتِ مِن لَّدُنْهُ أَجْرًا عَظِيمًا. Allah says, indeed, Allah does not do injustice even as much as an atom's weight. While if there is a good deed, He multiplies it and gives to Himself a great reward. That the smallest things that you can do, whether it's known to other people or not, it could be the very deeds by which you are elevated to unfathomable heights in the life to come. Allah says that the most beloved deeds to me are those deeds that my creation do with the sincere intention of simply seeking my pleasure. Those are the most beloved deeds to God. The focus is not on the outcome of our efforts, but on the efforts and the quality of our efforts themselves. And just to wrap up this khutbah, I want to share a couple tips as Imam Maulud Rahimahullah shares. That some of the things that we can use to combat this ostentation within ourselves is one, we have to be vigilant about hiding some of our actions. That we're conscious that some of the good things we do, that they not be known to others. That we're doing things knowing and checking with our hearts that we're motivated not because anyone knows, but because I'm satisfied that only my Creator knows that I've done these things. Another thing Imam Maulud Rahimahullah talks about is keeping good company. The Prophet has told us sallallahu alaihi wasallam that a man follows the religion of his friend, so each one should consider whom he makes his friend. The last thing is a dua on riyah. And this is a dua that you can search up online. The Prophet recommended we say every morning and every evening 3 times. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika an ushrika bika wa ana a'lam wa astaghfiruka lima la a'lam. Oh Allah, I seek protection, I seek refuge in you from ascribing partners to you and knowing. And I seek forgiveness for the things that I don't know. Because at the end of the day, when we're doing things for the sake of others, it's rooted in thinking that there's something else other than God that can give us our business. This month we're in Muharram is the month of sincerity. And we're in these blessed days. These are the days that the Prophet has told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the best days to fast after the month of Ramadan in terms of voluntary fast is in the month of Ashura, the month of Allah. The 10th of Ashura, Shaykh Mustafa has told me, will be this Monday. And for the one who can fast on the 10th of Ashura, the Prophet recommended that we fast the day before it as well, or the day after, either the 9th and the 10th, or the 10th and the 11th. But for the one who can fast even just the 10th, it is said that their sins from the entire previous year are forgiven. And I share this too because the 10th day is special. It is the day that Musa led his people away from Fir'aun, the day that Fir'aun the tyrant was drowned. And it's also the day that whether you're Sunni, Shia, whatever you are, it is the day that Hussein radiallahu anhu was martyred. That 72 of his companions, his family, and his children, those who spent time in the Lord, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, were killed. And this is the epitome of sincerity. That as we think about combating riyah within our own hearts, we think about sincerity in the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the life of Hussein radiallahu anhu. And I ask that if you don't know his story and the massacre of Karbala, that you read up on it and you search it, because there is a degree of reverence that is required from all of us, the Ahlul Bayt, to the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We ask that Allah put barakah in our efforts, that He grants us the ability to combat our hearts and the diseases within our hearts, and that He allows us to act only in a way that brings us closer to Him. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون وأقيموا الصلاة.